these things. In Georgetown we had something very similar. There was the phrasing of the old Georgetown and the new Georgetown, and you know, it's something that is probably not unfamiliar to many of you. I think it's an indication for a call to action, really, to articulate what before was really understood more in a more unspoken way between the people who shared much more strongly than the diverse faculty, for example, that is present here now, a general understanding of what these educational goals were. There might have been more clearly defined within the disciplines also, but I think also institutionally there was much more shared, commonly understood values or missions that the departments had. So I think there's a reason for some of this coming up now. We are dealing with a much more diverse context. Now, some of these decisions that I mentioned that have been made is some of the fundamental ones, and this might be interesting for some of the foreign language people here. We had decided to develop a fully integrated 4-year curriculum that did away with the bifurcation between lower and upper division courses, integrating substantive content from the beginning and appropriate language, focus on language development until the very end of that undergraduate curriculum, but actually bleeding significantly into the graduate program also. A misquote of my colleague Heidi Burns, she did not invent this, but it's fitting, is content from the beginning, language till the end. She clarified this for me in no uncertain terms that she did not say it, but somebody said it, it's useful anyway. We had decided that literacy focus for us, a literacy focus was the most appropriate way to construct a curriculum that enabled students to achieve advanced abilities in German. And we had adopted educational goals for the various stages of the curriculum and not specifically for minors or majors. So it really encompassed, or it tried to do away with a lot of these bifurcations that you find in departments and educational programs. Most importantly, the curricular work could draw on the shared values of the faculty, I'll get back to that, that allowed the resources and strengths that we did have as a department not so much to be expendable goods, but really renewable resources. You know, it's not something that could be just drawn on as sort of these these little building blocks, and once you had played with them, then no Lego blocks were left, and you had to disassemble what you had built and reassemble it someplace else in a different form. But really magically, there were more and more Lego blocks available for me as a chair, and I think for everybody in the department. We had developed a culture of shared knowledge about the curriculum, courses being taught, and some of the literature pertinent to our project. There was also a very strong sense of an academic community that included all faculty members and all graduate students, and even some undergraduate students who worked together on a substantive common project. It's a bit of a long sentence, but I think you cannot have academic community unless you work on something academically substantive together. That is just, I don't know how else community can occur unless you, well, no. I emphasize this because it's another way of saying that there needs to be something to assess. That's the first point in my handout, or the second point. There needs to be something to assess before you can start assessing. And in a way, saying that you want to assess learning is basically saying that you want to look at the practices of teaching that you have and possibly adjust and refine them, or possibly also massively change them. For us, the need for a systematic approach to assessment became clear as the curriculum became increasingly refined. There was a simple reason: we needed to know more about what we were doing and the way we talked about it. And we needed to and wanted to move forward on it. Now, obviously, we had done a lot of thinking about assessment in the narrow sense, that is, how to approach this in the, in the classroom and so on, to grade student performances, etc. But all of that seems somewhat unsophisticated given the detailed attention and the content of our courses. Assessment, as the massive curricular work we did, was not something cast upon us, by the way, by something outside of the department, so not a situation that many departments find themselves in today. It was not really a solution to some problem, some immediate problem that we were trying to address, though falling enrollments that also hit us were not the cause of it, but enhanced our sensibilities to the possible need to really provide a program that was the best we could. Like John said, I think this has changed dramatically in the past 10 or 12 years. I think it's wishful thinking to believe that Obama is different, or the Obama administration, or any kind of administration, is going to be any different from the previous administration. These pressures are not tied to that, though they might be configured a little bit differently. And I agree with John that unfortunately our professional organizations have been not responsive to something that they really, or they failed in the response to that. And that failure is very troublesome to me. Precisely because I care, I was been a member of the MLA for a long time. I've worked in many roles with the MLA, and I've been the president of the ADFL, and it's troublesome to me that neither of these organizations has really stepped out of this in a significant way. Now, just to mention some of the assessment, the major assessment projects that we have done, and also to highlight that assessment is not a uniform, one-size-fits-all, or even sort of just one exercise that you do, and then you have the information, or you do the kind of thing once and for all, and then you sit back and you've done your duty. I have listed also on my handout a number of projects, of the major projects we have done. 3 of them are curriculum dependent, often also more qualitative than quantitative, that is, with the help of John at the time. That was a signature thing. We developed a placement test that actually had something to do with what we were doing, rather than just sort of something that, I don't know where these things get developed and how they get developed. Then we had have a detailed description of classroom assessment with learning goals for specific classes and how they might be, how they are assessed, and the categories by which they are assessed, and so on. And then a project that just was completed last year and is mentioned, the description is in this book, on the overall evaluation of our students' perception of the program that included alumni. Just as an aside, I had a conversation just before coming here about assessment with the humanities person from history, who was just really annoyed at the term assessment, because humanities had long-term effects on students, and they cannot be really measured. I would suggest that you can measure them to some extent. That's not all that you can do, but you can go back to the labs. And in fact, the foreign language experience of students is usually, from the data I have seen, rated amongst the highest in any aspect of their student experience as they think back on their high school, on their college and university careers. So there is actually a good thing to be found there in measurable and presentable forms that one could go and take to certain kinds of donors, administrators, faculty,